My favourite book is called The Hunger Games. It was written by Suzanne Collins, I think, and it is a really good book. The story is set in North America, but at a time when things are very bad. It's a story of a terrible society which is separated into districts. A boy and girl from each district are sent to take part in the Hunger Games. These games are televised for everyone to see. The games are basically a fight to the death for the children taking part. The story follows a girl called Katniss, who is forced to take part in the games when she offers herself up instead of her sister. I like the story so much because it is very exciting. At first, I found it really horrifying, but the more I read it, the more I couldn't put the book down. I really came to like the main character too. She is so strong. I was recommended this book by some friends and it didn't disappoint me.
A film I saw recently which I particularly liked was Toy Story 3. It's the third of a trilogy of Toy Story films, and I think it's the best but saddest one. These films are made by Pixar, and they are cartoon films, but I think they are for adults as well as children. The film is about toys that get thrown out as their owner is too old to play with them anymore. They're given to a nursery school, but the nursery school children are horrible and the toys are treated really badly. So the story follows their journey to get back to their original owner. The main characters in the film are Woody, who is voiced by Tom Hanks, and Buzz Lightyear. I like this film so much because the story and the animation are so good. I found that even though it's a cartoon, it was really easy to get involved in the characters and what was happening to them. I think I cried for the last half hour of the film, but it's an incredibly heartwarming film about love and friendship. I would recommend this film to anyone who enjoys both a laugh and a cry. I think this film would be loved by most people in the world.
Are zoos cruel to animals?
I don't know. I think some zoos are cruel. For example, zoos that keep animals in small cages. But there are also zoos that give the animals space to move and look after them well. This, I think, is good. Zoos can also help protect endangered species, and this is a really great thing. There are some countries that have no laws to protect their animals. That's a real problem. So, overall, I don't think zoos are as bad as people think.
Do you think we could do more to protect our wildlife?
Yes, we could do a little more. I think many areas of rainforest which have been destroyed by industries really need to be rejuvenated. Lots of wildlife live there, and if they don't have these forests, they won't be able to survive. Gorillas, which are one of the most endangered rainforest species, are dying out rapidly.
Do you think hunting is justified?
I think hunting sometimes is a necessary thing, but I think hunting as a sport, when the main purpose is enjoyment, is a little cruel. We all need to eat, and traditional societies which don't have shops to buy food need to be able to hunt for the things they need. This is necessary for them to be able to live.
Hello everyone. As you know, this week's lectures are on wildlife in Britain. And today, we're going to look at the barn owl, which is a common nocturnal creature around the British Isles. Now, if you have a look at page 3 of your handout, you will see an outline of a barn owl. Now, it looks like a harmless creature, but this actually couldn't be further from the truth. They may be relatively harmless to you and me, but to the British rodent, they are a killer. Now, why is this? Well, firstly, it has a lot to do with their swiftness and silence. Look, for example, at the wings, which can vary from 80 centimetres to 95 centimetres. That's almost a metre. Wings that large have a great deal of power. Now, Most people think that beaks are probably the way most birds hunt. But these beaks, which are curved downwards, are not used to hunt prey. When owls hunt prey, they have two massive anatomical advantages. Firstly, their feathers, which have serrated edges, can separate from each other. This makes their flight absolutely silent, so they can approach their prey unnoticed. It is their claws which are used to catch prey. Once they are upon the prey, the extremely powerful claws go into action. So, you'll see, they are not really as sweet as they look. Now, their habitats you'll find are generally... In this module, we're going to be exploring the natural habitats that the planet Earth provides, starting with probably one of the most famous, rainforests. Now, rainforests are exactly that, forests which see a great amount of rain. The reason they are so important is that they provide excellent conditions for many species to survive in. Let's look at how this is by exploring exactly what the rainforest is made up of. Now, starting from the bottom of the rainforest, we can find the forest floor. Or rather, we can't find it, as it is littered with leaves and branches which cover the ground. This area is a haven for creatures like spiders and all kinds of wildlife. Now, this forest floor occasionally has a shrub layer. This layer, which is only located near rivers, contains small trees and, well, shrubbery, as the name suggests. It is a popular area for all manner of amphibians. The next area within the rainforest is generally without light and extremely hot and damp. This area, which is called the understory, which by the way is all one word, under, story, is a popular home for creatures which dwell in the branches, like snakes, lizards, and sometimes even jaguars. The most well-known area, called the canopy, is populated by some birds and small insects. The canopy is basically the treetops. It is the densely packed canopy that blocks the light to the lower areas of rainforest. Not much reaches above the canopy, but there are a few exceptional trees that climb much further into the sky. These trees grow in areas called emergent zones. These zones, which are a perfect environment for birds and other small creatures, lie at the very top of the rainforest, and individual trees can stretch up to 50 meters in the air. Now, as we can see, this means that rainforests have a multitude of unusual conditions, perfect for many creatures. But why are such conditions perfect? Well, let's go on to look further into the canopy.
What kinds of holidays do you like?
I like beach holidays because, well, I enjoy relaxing and I love the sun. I don't really like city breaks or activity holidays. They're too tiring for me. I work so hard that I like to just do nothing when I'm away. I usually go to Italy on holiday, which is really nice but quite expensive.
What was the last place you visited on holiday?
I went to one of the Greek islands last year. I was there for 2 weeks. I flew there but took the boat back, which was a real treat. I love travelling by boat. When I was there, I saw a few sights and ate some of the local food, but mainly I just stayed by the pool and sunbathed.
What kinds of transport do you use regularly?
I live in a big city, Shanghai, and so I often use public transport. I go to work by bus, which usually takes about 30 minutes. Lots of people in Shanghai travel by bike, but I've never ridden a bicycle because I'm too scared. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. I often visit my parents by train, but last week there was an accident, so I took the bus.
How long have you lived in your hometown?
I've lived here all my life. Although I've worked in lots of different cities, I've never stayed there for more than a few months. I was born in Shanghai and have lived here now for 21 years. I lived with my parents when I was younger, but now I've got a flat on my own in the city centre. It's not very big, but it suits me.
Have you travelled to many different places in your country?
Yes, I've travelled to lots of different cities in China. I've been to Beijing, Guangzhou, Nanjing, Harbin and Kunming. My favourite one was Beijing. I went there a couple of years ago and it was really fantastic. I didn't realise how cold it was in Beijing. I was amazed. Apparently it is really hot in the summer but really cold in the wintertime. Unfortunately, I went in the winter.
Hi, is this the Student Affairs office?
Yes, it is. I'm Carol. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Andy. Well, I'm new at the university and I was told I needed to come here to complete my registration.
You're in the right place, yes.
Oh, great.
Firstly, do you know your way around the campus?
No, it's my first day. I'm going to explore later.
Well, hold on. I'll give you a map of the university.
There are some over there on the wall. I'll grab one.
Thanks. Sorry about that. Have you organised your tour around the main library?
No, not yet. I'm going to go to the library later to do it.
I'll do it for you here. There's a tour at 4:30 today. Shall I put you on that?
Yes, please, that'll be great. I'm going to complete the new student form later on today. Do I bring that to you?
You can't complete it yourself. You'll need to go to the main administration office as one of the staff members there needs to fill the form out for you. It's just by the main hall. You can't miss it. You can get a visa form from them too, but you'll need to send the confirmation yourself once you've completed the form.
I don't need a visa, so I should be okay with that, but thanks.
Okay. Can I help you with anything else?
Yes, please. There's just so much to do, and I don't know where to go for some things. Could you help me?
Yes, of course. It's a bit daunting when it's all new.
Well, at the moment, I'm staying in a bed and breakfast. I left it a bit late to get some accommodation, but I'd like a place of my own. Do you know where I can find information about places I could rent?
Good job you asked. Lots of people go to the administrative department and then get sent back here to student affairs. Here's the latest list of accommodation.
Wow, that was easy. And where can I get information on my rental agreement?
Well, you need to find a place first before you get it checked, but I'll do it when you've found somewhere.
Great. I'm going to register with the doctor later on at the admin department. Do they also have information on the area?
You'll need to go to student support to get a doctor, not admin. They also have everything you need to know about the town. They're really helpful. The admin department is really only there for official things such as visa regulations, loans and paying for your course.
Okay, great. Oh, there's so much to remember.
There certainly is. But once you're settled in, it will all be much easier. Good luck.
Thanks for your help. Welcome to the programme, Bob Lamont. Now, you're going to talk to us about the online gaming industry. We've had many listeners, especially parents of young children, email questions about the future of the gaming industry and how it's going to develop.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to answer some of their questions. Firstly, it's important to remember that this is an industry that develops incredibly rapidly, and so it's difficult to make definite predictions. So, in terms of significant developments that people working in the industry are preparing for, the most interesting is the fact that the age group of gamers, the people who play online and video games, will change dramatically. We predict that by 2020, The average age range will have shifted from teenagers to the over 50s. This is because in the future, young people will be using new forms of entertainment, but those who are young now are more likely to continue using the forms of entertainment they are already used to in later life. By 2020, this age group will have been playing the same type of game for half their lives and are unlikely to change. The types of games will progress too, from the platform-based games we have now, which we expect people to be using until 2015, to 3D games towards the end of the decade. However, before everyone is using 3D games, there will be a period when networked games will become the dominant format. This is mostly to do with the technology available and the fact that gaming companies won't have invested enough money to make 3D cheap enough for the mass market until at least 2018. Now, as you would expect, the gaming market will spread so that by 2020, companies will have created a worldwide marketing strategy for every game, therefore reducing the need to create new games for different regional markets. This is different from today, where we see that the online gaming industry is much more focused on the region of Asia, and this is likely to continue for a few more years. One final point to mention here is the competition from other forms of entertainment. Over the next decade, very few forms of entertainment will be able to compete with the gaming industry. However, there is talk of movies becoming interactive in the future. This is a real threat. Tech companies will have developed the necessary technology for interactive movies by 2015, and this may attract gamers who like character-based games in large numbers.
Fascinating, Bob. I didn't realise it was such a complex business. Thank you very much for your insight into this vast...
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Museum of Technology. We'll be taking a tour around the 3 floors, which will last approximately 1 hour, and then after that you'll be able to explore the museum on your own. Now, let's begin with the Internet, past, present and future on the 1st floor. By this Friday, the exhibition will have been open for 2 weeks. It started on July the 10th and it'll continue for 3 more weeks, so make sure you see it today, otherwise it'll probably have finished by the time you think about coming back. The final day of the exhibition is the 31st of July. The most interesting part of this section of the museum is about the Internet of the future. As you walk around, you'll see some large 3D touchscreens which show how we'll probably be using computers in about 5 years. These screens are definitely the best part of the display and something you must see. Moving on to the 3rd floor, the exhibition here is all about communicating via the internet, and it's called Social Networking. This exhibition is open throughout August from the 1st to the 30th. There is a fascinating part of the exhibition which is really worth seeing, as it compares mobile phone and internet usage and shows how we'll be using social networking in the future. According to some scientists, by the middle of this century, we will have been participating in communication through social networking so much that mobile phones will have become obsolete. Make sure you take a look at the World Digital Map, which shows this visually, as it's quite amazing. The final exhibition is opening on the 4th floor and is dedicated to small handheld devices that companies will have introduced into our shops by the end of next year. In fact, you may have already seen some of them being advertised on TV. The name of this section is Portable Devices of the 21st Century, and it's starting tomorrow on July the 22nd and will be open until August the 20th. This part of the museum is about 6th sense technology. This technology will have been included in all portable devices like mobile phones and music players within 3 years or so. It also shows us examples of satellite tracking systems, which we will be using to help us plan our daily lives. These 2 sections are fascinating, and I recommend you spend some time viewing both. So, let's start the tour. If you could all follow me.
I'm going to talk about my grandmother on my father's side. She's quite little and has white hair and glasses. I have glasses too. We're the only people in the family that wear glasses. She's very old now and I don't get to see her very often. I think I see her maybe 2 or 3 times a year. She lives quite far away in the countryside. It takes us about 3 hours to travel there. Whenever we visit, she always gives sweets to me. She's important to me because she's so kind and so nice, and I really love her. She's definitely my favourite family member. I think I take after her in some ways. We laugh at the same things, and we both like reading. When we go and visit, we always go out walking in the fields and have a really lovely time. My dad always says that we're very similar. I'd like to be as wise as her when I'm older. I'd also like to have a similar life. She had a very successful career. She was a doctor and worked for charities. She was very much in love with my grandfather, which I think is lovely.
Excuse me, my name's Simon and I'm a dietitian working here at the university. Would you mind if I asked you some questions? I'm doing a survey for the Students' Union on student eating habits.
Oh, really?
Yes, we're trying to find out how we can improve the meals served in the university canteens and cafes based on what students like to cook for themselves.
Right, well, I've a few minutes before class, so yes, I can answer some questions.
Oh, thanks a lot. Firstly, what's your name and what course are you studying?
I'm Jim and I'm doing biology.
Okay. Now, can you tell me how often you eat meat?
About once a week. The cost is really high these days, so I can't afford to eat much meat.
Right. And what about fish and vegetables?
I don't like fish, so that hardly features in my diet at all. But I often eat vegetables. In fact, both at lunchtime and for my evening meal, I usually make meals from vegetables as they're quick and easy.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Do you think we should have more vegetable dishes in the Students' Union canteens?
I think so, because price is a big factor for students deciding to be vegetarian. If the university served good quality vegetarian food, they could make it cheaper, and this might attract more students.
Yes, I see your point. Now, how would you evaluate your diet?
That's a good question. I know my diet contains far too much sugar. The problem is that I love fizzy drinks like Coke and lemonade. I'm pretty sure that that's where most of the sugar comes from. What I really have to do is to try to find a way to stop this and drink some kind of juice or water instead.
Yes, you're right. That's what a dietitian, nutritionist or doctor would recommend.
I know. At the moment, I don't drink enough water. On an average day, I only have a couple of glasses.
I'm going to talk about an English dessert called trifle. This is a dish that people usually eat in summer, and it's been very popular since the 1950s. It's made from fruit, cake, custard and jelly, and we often eat it with some cream. Trifle is really easy to make because it doesn't actually need cooking. First of all, you cut up some cake into slices, and then you put the slices of cake into a bowl. Some people like to cover the cake in sherry, otherwise it can go a bit hard. Next, you need to chop up some fruit. Oh, but you can't use just any fruit. It must be berries such as strawberries, raspberries or blackberries. After covering the cake with berries, you need to make some jelly and pour this over the fruit. When the jelly has cooled, it's time to add custard. You can use a tin of custard, but it's better to make your own. People can always tell the difference. Finally, add the cream. It's best to only use a little cream because trifle is quite rich. And then put a few raspberries on the top for decoration. I love it because of the mix of fruit and sweet custard.
As part of this module on youth, today we are going to look at current youth initiatives in the UK, some of which are more successful than others, I must say. The last government spent a lot of money on setting up initiatives that sadly have been left in desperate need of funding since the new government has come into power. Firstly, volunteering schemes are incredibly successful in the UK. These schemes are cheap to run, which is a huge benefit. In addition to this, the schemes are community-based. This means that the benefits are spread widely throughout each local community. The uptake has doubled in the last 10 years, and I believe this is an area where more focus should be placed. Secondly, sports clubs are a huge youth initiative, with more than 20,000 emerging in the last 10 years in England alone. Although the numbers are very positive, these schemes are expensive to staff. If these are to continue to flourish, this area will need a significant cash injection. Lastly, there are a certain number of drama clubs that have emerged in the last 10 years. Although it was thought that these would be hugely popular, they have actually attracted only small numbers of students. Moreover, they are costly, and finding a venue for such clubs has proved difficult, as many local halls are running at capacity. As a result of these factors, these clubs are not likely to continue in the long term. To conclude, as we can see, some of the schemes are flourishing, yet many are short of money and other essential resources. In order to enhance the youth experience, the government must identify new schemes which are cost-effective yet enjoyable to teens.